The golden buzzer didn't protect him from this. See the shocking police footage and the full breakdown of Blue's 2026 arrest that has the music world in disbelief. Good evening. I'm reporting on a story that has sent shockwaves from the vibrant streets of New Orleans to the digital screens of millions. Blue, the breakout soul sensation of America's Got Talent Season 20, is facing a legal crisis that threatens to derail one of the most inspiring comeback stories in modern entertainment history. On Saturday, March 21, 2026, the Tammany Parish Sheriff's Office confirmed the arrest of the 23-year-old singer, a man who once stood as a beacon of resilience for every underdog watching at home. The charges listed are sobering: suspicion of operating a vehicle while intoxicated, careless operation, possession of an open container, and driving with a suspended license. For a performer whose brand was built on overcoming a rebellious past and surviving a near-fatal overdose, this incident feels like a visceral relapse into the shadows he claimed to have escaped. As fans process the booking photos, the contrast between the polished star under the stage lights and the defendant in the precinct is a stark reminder of the fragile nature of public redemption. To understand the magnitude of this fall, we must revisit the night Blue stepped onto the national stage and changed his life with a single performance. Covering the scripts, Blue didn't just sing. He channeled the grit of Bourbon Street into a raw, emotional plea that moved judge to press the golden buzzer. Famously predicted that Blue's name would be on the lips of everyone across the globe. And for a year, that prophecy held true as Blue ascended to the live finals. He wasn't just a contestant. He was a symbol of hope for those battling addiction and displacement, frequently sharing his journey of sleeping in workplace bathrooms and living on friends' couches. However, the Bourbon Street soul singer now finds his name on the lips of the public for a very different reason. The transition from a street busker to a viral superstar brought with it a level of scrutiny and pressure that few are truly prepared to navigate. As we look at the 2026 arrest records, we are forced to ask if the rapid ascent to fame provided a platform for success, or merely a higher peak from which to fall. Blue's narrative has always been one of survival, a theme he leaned into heavily during his rise on America's Got Talent. Born into a family of high achievers, a police officer mother and a lawyer father, Blue described his teenage years as a period of intense rebellion fueled by the pressures of his environment. By age 16, he was navigating the world alone, eventually finding his voice on the corners of New Orleans, where he performed until the early hours of the morning to support his young son. He spoke candidly to the media about the miracle of surviving an overdose and his decision to quit substances cold turkey to be a better father. This background made his success feel earned, a hard-won victory against the odds that resonated with his 850,000 TikTok followers. Yet, the recent allegations of an open container and intoxicated driving suggest that the miracle may have been more precarious than the public was led to believe. In the world of entertainment reporting, we often see stars struggle with the ghosts of their past, but for Blue, those ghosts seem to have caught up with him in the middle of a Louisiana night. Throughout his journey, Blue insisted that his primary motivation was his son, and the desire to show him that one could rise from the dark and dangerous corners of life. He portrayed himself as a dedicated family man who utilized his car battery-powered street performances to build a lucrative career from scratch. This persona was central to his appeal, making him the most relatable underdog of his season. Even after finishing in third place, a result that sparked outrage among fans who felt he was robbed, Blue continued to work tirelessly, leveraging his social media presence to maintain his momentum. This dedication makes the recent charges of careless operation and driving on a suspended license all the more baffling to his supporters. A man who claimed to be driven by the safety and future of his child now faces legal consequences that could jeopardize his ability to provide that very stability. As we analyze the details of the March 21 arrest, the central question remains: How does a man who fought so hard for a second chance risk it all in a single moment of perceived recklessness? In the days following his release from custody, Blue has remained largely silent, leaving his massive digital audience to speculate on his future. This silence is a sharp departure from his usual high-frequency posting schedule, where he often engaged directly with fans about mental health and resilience. While the legal system will eventually process the DWI and licensing charges, the damage to his reputation as a mental health advocate is already being debated across social media platforms. Some fans argue for grace, citing the immense pressure of his sudden fall, while others express a sense of betrayal, feeling that the artist's actions contradict the values he championed on national television. Interestingly, of Blue back on the streets of Louisiana, performing his signature covers shortly after the arrest, suggest a man attempting to find solace in the only way he knows how. However, the Bourbon Street soul singer cannot simply sing away a criminal record. As reporters, we are watching a pivotal moment. Will this arrest be a temporary setback in a storied career, or the beginning of a tragic downward spiral that mirrors the very life he claimed to have left behind? The specifics of the March 21 incident paint a troubling picture of the night in question, as we look closer at the official booking from Tammany Parish. The suspicion of driving while intoxicated is a serious allegation on its own, but when coupled with careless operation and an open container, it suggests a total lapse in judgment that goes beyond a simple mistake. Furthermore, the charge of driving on a suspended license indicates a pre-existing legal issue that Blue had yet to resolve, hinting at a pattern of administrative or legal negligence. For a man whose career was on an astronomical trajectory, these are not just minor infractions. They are significant hurdles that could impact his ability to tour, secure sponsorships, or maintain his work visas if international travel was in his future. Legal experts suggest that while these are often treated as misdemeanors for first-time offenders, the high-profile nature of his AGT fame puts him under a microscope. As the district attorney reviews the evidence, the music industry is holding its breath to see if Blue will face the full weight of the law or if a plea deal will allow him to keep his career on life support. It is a story as old as Hollywood itself, the talented outsider who finds success, only to be overwhelmed by the very spotlight they craved. Blue's rise was meteoric, moving from the humidity of Bourbon Street to the air-conditioned luxury of a Los Angeles studio in mere weeks. While the judges praised his raw and distinctive voice, few addressed the psychological toll of transitioning from homelessness to household name status. The expectations placed upon him to be a provider, a role model, and a survivor may have created a pressure cooker environment that finally boiled over on that Saturday night in March. Industry insiders often point out that reality TV stars lack the long-term support systems that traditional label artists receive, leaving them vulnerable to the pitfalls of sudden wealth and recognition. If Blue was indeed struggling with the transition, the 2026 arrest might be seen as a cry for help rather than a simple act of defiance. As we continue to follow this story, the focus shifts from the crime itself to the mental state of a young man who was tasked with carrying the hopes of an entire city on his shoulders. When hit that buzzer in 2025, he gave Blue more than just a ticket to the finals. He gave him a brand that was tied to perfection and destiny. This chosen one narrative is a powerful marketing tool, but it leaves very little room for human error. For the millions who voted for him, Blue was the man who had already beaten the odds, making his recent arrest feel like a personal disappointment to a global audience. The shocking nature of the arrest, as described in headlines, stems directly from the saint-like image he cultivated during his time on NBC. In the digital age, a star's brand is their most valuable currency, and Blue's currency has taken a significant hit in the wake of these police reports. We have seen other reality stars recover from similar scandals, but it requires a level of transparency and accountability that Blue has yet to demonstrate. The golden buzzer was meant to be the start of a legend. Instead, it has become the benchmark against which his current failures are being measured by both the media and his disillusion. One of the most perplexing elements of this unfolding drama is the report of Blue returning to street performing almost immediately after his release from jail. To some, this is a sign of humility, a man returning to his roots to find his center and connect with the music that saved him once before. To others, it is a sign of desperation, suggesting that the lucrative career promised by his AGT run may not have been as financially stable as it appeared on television. Busking on Bourbon Street is a grueling way to make a living, and for a man with nearly 1 million followers, it raises questions about his current management and financial health. Is he performing because he loves the craft, or because he has no other choice? This behavior adds a layer of complexity to the rise and fall narrative, suggesting that the fall may have happened much earlier than the public realized. As he stands on the corner with his car battery and his microphone, the singer looks less like a superstar and more like the rebellious 16-year-old he used to be, trying to navigate a world that feels increasingly out of his control. As we conclude our report on the 2026 arrest of Blue, the singer stands at the most critical crossroads of his life. The legal charges of DWI and reckless operation are significant, but the challenge of reclaiming his narrative is even greater. He has proven once before that he can overcome homelessness and addiction, but doing so under the relentless gaze of the public eye is a different battle entirely. The Bourbon Street soul singer became a household name because he turned his pain into art. Now, he must decide if he will turn this latest mistake into a lesson or let it define his legacy. His son remains the central figure in this story, a reminder of the real-world consequences of the choices made behind the wheel. Whether Blue can find his way back to the stage, and more importantly, back to the path of recovery, remains the biggest question of the 2026 entertainment season. We will continue to monitor the court proceedings in Tammany Parish and provide updates as they become available. For now, the music on Bourbon Street continues, but for one of its most famous sons, the melody has never sounded more uncertain.